There we are. So, yeah, I was saying for the residents of Vrindavan, the scariest thing is losing Krishna's association. And that is the topic of our discussions today. We're discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, verses 30 to 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll read the English translations until there's a particular verse that we have to read the Sanskrit because it is so beautiful and evocative. So at verse 30, the gopis are speaking as Krishna is being taken away from Vrindavan. How can we exist without Ananta's friend Krishna, who in the evening would return to Vraja in the company of the cowherd boys, his hair and garland powdered with the dust raised by the cow's hooves? As he played his flute, he would captivate our minds with his smiling, sidelong glances. Verse 31. This is the verse that I have to read the Sanskrit. Shri Sukha Uvacha Evam Bruvana Vira Hatura Bhrisham Vraja Striya Krishna Vishakta Manasa Visrijjalajam Rurudasma Susparam Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So everyone can repeat the last line. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Now you know where that comes from. It comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, Janavi, our friend, has popularized it with one of her songs. Sukadeva Goswami said, after speaking these words, the ladies of Raja, who were so attached to Krishna, felt extremely agitated by their imminent separation from him. They forgot all shame and loudly cried out, O Govinda, O Damodara, O Madhava. Commentary. For a long time, the gopis had carefully hidden their conjugal love for Krishna. But now that Krishna was leaving, the gopis were so distressed that they could no longer hide their feelings. How will Akrura respond to this? Verse 32. We'll chant the Sanskrit. It's beautiful. Stridam evam rudantinam udite savitaryata akruras chodayamasa krita maitradiko vratam. Even as the gopis cried out in this way, Akrura, having at sunrise performed his morning worship and other duties, began to drive the chariot. Purport by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. According to some Vaishnava authorities, Akrura offended the gopis by not consoling them when he took Krishna to Mathura. And because of this offense, Akrura was later forced to leave Dwaraka and be separated from Krishna during the episode of the Shamantaka jewel. At that time, Akrura had to take up an ignoble residence in Varanasi. Apparently, Mother Yasoda and the other residents of Vrindavan were not crying like the gopis, for they sincerely believed that Krishna would be coming back within a few days. Om Gyanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So this section of the Bhagavatam, it's called verse 31 is the last verse of a group of verses called collectively as Viraha Gita. It's verses 19 through to 31. They are grouped together, and it's called Viraha Gita. Viraha means separation. The song of separation. We're all famous with Bhagavad Gita. We talk about Bhagavad Gita a lot in our society, in our community. It gives the fundamentals, the ABCs of our philosophy. We may be less familiar or less aware that the Bhagavad Gita is actually a section of the Mahabharata. So one portion of the Mahabharata that we elevate and take as a standalone text called Bhagavad Gita. There are many other Gitas. Satyaraj Prabhu has a book on the other Gita. That is the Uddhava Gita, found in it's the major portion of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's also taken as a standalone work, and quite a wonderful exercise to do is to read Bhagavad Gita and Uddhava Gita together and see the similarities. It's actually quite wonderful, because Uddhava asks a question of Krishna, and Krishna says, "Oh, that's quite similar to what Arjuna asked me on the battlefield of Kurukshetra." And so begins their conversation. And so it's Bhagavad Gita point 2.0. It's a recap, but it goes much further. It's Bhagavatam, so it goes into more detail, takes things to a deeper level. But it is, it's the Bhagavad Gita. You can read them together. Similarly, there are other Gitas. Now, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, which we're studying together now as a community, there are 6 Gitas that are sung by the gopis. Short Gitas, not like the Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses, or like the Uddhava Gita, also many, many hundreds of verses. But these are short songs, 15, 16, 20 verses. And so there are 6 Gitas in the 10th canto that are sung by the gopis. This here, what we're reading today, the last couple of verses of the 5th of these 6 Gitas. And each has a unique flavor. Each is an expansion or development of the intensity of the gopis' love for Krishna. And it's quite wonderful if you follow them, read them next to one another or compare them. The Venu Gita, okay, that's famous. Now we say Venu Gita. Some of you was like, oh yeah, okay, I know about that other song of the gopis. The gopis glorified Krishna's flute. And this is before the gopis have met Krishna. They know of this boy in Vrajapura, the son of Nanda, and he plays a flute. So they're talking about him, but it's from a distance. And it's called Purva Rag. Purva, first, Raga, feeling, sentiment. This is their love before meeting. And we get this wide angle, like Henry has this backdrop behind him of a nature scene. So the gopis with the Venu Gita, they're giving us a wide angle view of Vrindavan and how Krishna is entering the forest and he's playing his flute, and how Vrindavan forest is responding to Krishna's flute song. How the birds respond, how the cows respond, how the deer respond. They're demigods in the heavens. They also respond to the sun. And so it's a distant view. So that's the 10th canto, chapter 21. In the chapter 29, verses 31 to 41, then we get Pranaya Gita. This is where Krishna has called the gopis for the rasa dance. It's the moonlit night in the autumn season. Right now we have autumn, and the evenings are very beautiful in New York City right now. And so in Vraja, this time, when the coming full moon. We're coming towards, not sure this next one or the one after is Sharad Purnima. And so Krishna, he's enjoying the beauty of Vrindavan in autumn. He sees the moonrise, he remembers the gopis, and he calls them with his flute, and they come running to him, abandoning whatever they're doing. And then Krishna says, oh, girls, it's so nice that you came to see the beauty of the forest in this autumn evening. Now that you've seen it, go home, because it's dangerous, and there are wild animals here. And besides, we're not married, so you shouldn't be alone with me here in the forest. So quickly go home. And then they take a stand and they push back. They tell Krishna, I think of this as like a sannyas song. They're telling Krishna, don't use Dharma to send us away from you. The whole purport of Dharma and Vedic teaching is to bring the soul to you. Now that we've come to you, you can't send us away. You tell us we have commitments to family and other responsibilities. There's no higher responsibility than loving you. There's no higher calling for the soul than to love you. And so Krishna is pleased, and he has intimate association with them. But then there's a tinge of pride, and Krishna wants to heighten their love, so he leaves. So the next song is in chapter 31, verses 1 to 19, where the gopis are looking for Krishna, and they're feeling intense separation from Krishna. So after looking everywhere through Vrindavan forest, they sit down and they do kirtan, they sing. They've made their own efforts to find Krishna, and they've searched, the Sukadeva Goswami says, to the darkest corners of the forest where even the moonlight won't enter. And after they're not able to find him that way, they just surrender by sitting and doing kirtan by the bank of the Yamuna River, singing what is called Gopi Gita. And now this song, they've already had Krishna's association, so it's very different. We're getting the close-up view. They talk about the sound of Krishna's voice and the touch of his skin and the curls in his hair. So they're speaking these very intimate things. They're singing of these very intimate things because they have had Krishna's intimate association. Now they've lost it, they want it again. And so they express the intensity of their love, having known Krishna's intimate association. And there's another Gita, Yugala Gita, chapter 35, verses 2 to 25. And now here, what we have is Viraha Gita. And the intensity of love has been taken to another level, because it's love with this sense of abandonment, this imminent departure of their beloved. So verses 19 to 31 here, very intense separation. They know Krishna, they love Krishna, they've been with Krishna. He is the Lord of their hearts, the love of we don't just say lives, their entire existence. And they're about to be separated. And people are saying, oh, he will come back. He will even, he's also consoled. He says, I'll come back soon. They know. Everyone else seems to be duped, but they know this is it. He's leaving. And so they're expressing this really intense feeling of separation. And it should awaken in us an intensity of love for God. All of these songs of the gopis, they are the exemplars of loving Krishna. And so the idea of reading Bhagavatam, or reading these songs, is that our hearts will also be moved somehow. So there will be some opening, some fissure will come, and then the light will be able to shine through. And the heart will begin to soften with love for Krishna. So in the intensity of their love for Krishna, these gopis have become very bold. They begin by criticizing the Creator. Providence, you're so cruel. That's how it's translated in our Bhagavatam. Otherwise, the word for providence could also be creator. They're criticizing Brahma, they're criticizing Vishnu, or whoever's in charge, the universe, for separating them from Krishna. They say, you have no drop of mercy. This is so unfair. You bring people together in friendship. You bring them together in an intense mutual exchange of mind and life and intellect. And then what do? Creator, providence, you pull them apart again. You have shown us the beautiful smiling face of Mukunda, which removes all suffering. Mukunda, he gives liberation. You have shown us that face. That's the name they use is Mukunda, some earlier verse. And now you're making it disappear again. So one nice thought for us is how in the midst of their intense suffering, they still hold their love for Krishna. Their love for Krishna remains unwavering despite the tests, the challenges here. Here they feel that their lives will leave them. That's how much they're feeling the intensity of this moment. Then they go to criticizing Akrura. So, okay, criticize the universe. Let's criticize the driver of this chariot in verses 26 and 27. They say, it's not proper that this person has been named Akrura, not cruel, because he is extremely cruel. He should be called Krura. We're going to rename this guy. He hasn't even stopped to console us, as mentioned in the commentary today. He hasn't even stopped to say, I'm sorry that this is painful for you, but it's important for the world that Krishna leave Vrindavan now and remove Kamsa from the throne and kill other demons who have taken up the guise of the royal order. He hasn't even had the decency to do that, this cruel Akrura. Well, Krura as we're going to call him from now on. He will accrue the sin of murdering the people of Vrindavan. He's taken Krishna from us, who's more dear to us than our own lives. He's taken him to a faraway place where we can't go. And so they're angry. They're angry at Akrura. They're angry also, disappointed in the other Brajbasis, these Sridham and Sudam and all these other cowherd boys following along behind that chariot in their own carts. Nanda Maharaj, the other elders, why don't they do anything? Why don't they say anything? Don't they know what's going on here? So, yeah, they're disappointed with everyone at this stage. And so this emboldens them. They become emboldened. Until now, they have been keeping their love for Krishna hidden in their hearts. It's been a secret, only known between them and some other very intimate friends. But now that they see that everything is about to be lost, they play their last cards, their last hand. They go all in. Sorry for that metaphor. They throw all caution to the wind. Let's go right up to Krishna and tell him, dear one, get down from that chariot. Get down right now. And until now, they've been very careful, but they don't care anymore. Respectable families, people will laugh at us. They're married women. They have this secret love for this cowherd boy, but they don't care anymore. People can laugh at us. The village elders can discover our secret about Krishna and cast us out. We don't care. What can they do to us? What more can be done to us at this stage? We've lost everything. We can stay here in the forest like presiding goddesses of the forest if they don't let us back into the village after knowing about our secret love for Krishna. In fact, we can get Krishna to stay in the forest with us. We'll live like goddesses in the forest. We'll get Krishna off that chariot, and then we will live as social rejects, ostracized from our communities, from society, but we'll have Krishna. And so this is their last ditch attempt. And they go out, they run out in front of the chariot, and they call out Krishna's names in front of everyone. Govinda, Damodhara, Madhava. Our acharyas explained that these names are also very significant. Govinda, master of the senses. Take our senses with you. Don't let our senses be separated from you. Our eyes should be looking at you only. Our ears should be hearing your voice only. Our skin should be touching our hands. Our limbs should be touching you only. Don't let our senses be separated from you, Govinda, master of the senses. And if you don't accept us, if you don't accept our senses, if you don't accept our bodies, then we will give them up. What is the use of having eyes that can't see you? What is the use of having ears that can't hear the sound of your voice any longer? What is the use of this flesh and skin? What is the use of any of it? Of nostrils that can't smell the fragrance of your garland, of the tulsi leaves that you wear in your garland, the fragrance of your body, like aguru and blue lotuses mixed with camphor. They describe these things in earlier descriptions. And they call out to Damodhara. Damodhara. We will be celebrating the month of Damodar very shortly. Okay, you might kill us. You might kill us by abandoning us now, but don't kill your mother, Yasoda, the queen of Vraja, who bound your belly with ropes, who bound you up to a wooden grinding mortar. She will die for sure if you don't return in 2 days. Don't commit the sin of matricide. And then finally, they call to Madhava. Madhava is the husband of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune. You're not our husband. You're Lakshmi's husband. Sometimes they reveal what they know about his identity as Vishnu as well. You are Lakshmi's husband. You're our boyfriend. So if you were our husband, you would have a right to, you might deal with us as you will. In that time, they think of if you were our husband, you might treat us in some way, but we are someone else's wife. So we are someone else's property. If you kill us, then you are responsible for killing or destroying someone else's property. So you don't want that sin on your hand either. They are desperate. So they they are going for any argument, any desperate measure to try to stop what they recognize at this stage as imminent: Krishna leaving Vrindavan. And so in front of that chariot, they're calling out these names: Govinda, Damodhara, Madhava, and teaching us that our ultimate refuge is the holy name. Our ultimate refuge. When all else fails, all our endeavors, all of our schemes and plans, we have to take shelter of Krishna. That's what the gopis do during the rasa dance. They sit and they do kirtan. They've searched everywhere. They couldn't find him. They do kirtan and Krishna comes to them. And so now they're trying that again, desperately calling out to Krishna, chanting the holy names, understanding that by doing so, there's nothing to lose. There's just everything to gain. So the gopis consider their lives worthless without Krishna's presence, and we should also realize that our true fulfillment is in connecting with Krishna through devotion and through surrender. All else will fall away. All else will be lost eventually. And all that we will have, and all that we do have, is to call out to Krishna, to take shelter of his holy name and await his mercy. So I'll conclude with just a short prayer to summarize some of these ideas and then open up for your reflections and insights. Dear Krishna, as we reflect on the gopis' song of separation, we are reminded that in the face of life's inevitable changes and challenges, we must hold on steadfastly to our connection with you. The gopis reveal that the true essence of good fortune lies in being close to you, while misfortune is being separated from you. The gopis further remind us that anything or anyone that takes us away from you, Krishna, is cruel, while those who bring us closer to you are kind and compassionate. Following the gopis' example, let us take shelter in the chanting and remembrance of your holy name with fearlessness and desperation, understanding that in doing so, we have nothing to lose but everything to gain. May these invaluable lessons learned from the gopis be eternally etched in our hearts, guiding us on our spiritual journey.
Thank you, Shri Prahlad Prabhu. Wonderful class. You talked about concentrating our senses on Krishna, surrendering to Krishna. You talked about kirtan. It just has everything that we need in that class. Thank you for packaging everything so nicely. Okay, dear devotees, it's your turn. Time to reflect. Time to maybe even turn your camera on if you can. Maybe even unblur your background, Damodar Priya. Okay, who wants to reflect? Amrita Kishore is rushing somewhere.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, that class was just, so extraordinarily fantastic. You can't hold a candle to the sun and reflect much, but that the intensity of the separation. We know that Yanilo Premadana, you know that song?
Yeah.
He's praying, this one and that one is gone. I will just simply beat my head on the rocks, right? And that you're gone, and what'll I do? What'll I do? And it seems like irrevocable,
Yeah.
But then, interestingly enough, although there's a terrible longing, the spiritual separation, like you explained so nicely, is sweet. It's intensive. There's an intensification of love, and then we hear these statements by Srila Prabhupada when he says, "I am never separated from my spiritual master." That although there is, the horrible aspect of being separated from someone beloved, then, like you explained, there's actually a way to come together. In the Bible it says something about who can separate us from the love of Christ? Mountains, oceans, time, right? So there's a spiritual platform outside of space and time, where our relationship with the spiritual master is not based on geographical proximity or temporal proximity. And we can long for that reunion, and we can achieve that reunion if we stay fixed. And Prabhupada said, you do what I tell you. Do what I tell you, and I'll be there for you. And we'll never be separated. And that's so powerful. It seems miraculous and stunning, impossible, but that's what he told us. And we can keep that in mind. And so it's not just like in the, materially they have this genre of music called the blues. My dog died, my truck broke, my girl left me, oh my goodness. And it's just like
Take out your guitar.
endless swamp of, like, lamentation. But this is a longing. They have this, what do they call that, Gregorian chant? It has a longing to it, but it's a longing that will be fulfilled. It's not just an endless, hopeless longing, and it's different from the blues. That we long for Krishna, that's what the soul cries out for, and we can get there. And that's so consoling. Anyway, I can't compare what we have to share with what you, but we pray to Prabhupada, please, if there's some way we can contribute, let's know what you want to say, and we hope that that will be somehow helpful to the devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those comments. And you're reminding us about union in separation. And that's a very esoteric principle. And I also remember, Chaitanya's experience of this union in separation, or the intensity of separation from Krishna and Krishna's presence within that. Thank you. Jeffrey, and that's Bhima. No, it's Jeffrey first and then Bhima.
Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for this class. I very much appreciated you going through the individual Gitas there, and explaining the progression. I did have a question though, as you went through, right before the Varaha Gita, you mentioned there's a Yugala Gita.
That's right, yeah.
And could you just give us a couple more points about what step that is in the progression, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there's the Yugala Gita before and the Brahmara Gita that's to come. So you'll have that ahead in chapter 47. After Krishna's gone to Mathura, he sends a messenger, Uddhava, back to Vrindavan with a message similar, that you can have union with me in separation. The gopis are not quite happy with that idea, but yeah, it's a philosophical idea. So that's to come, Brahmara Gita. But Yugala Gita, chapter 35, verses 2 to 25. It's called Yugala. Yugala means a couple. And so poetically, it's written as couplets. Well, one verse doesn't complete, but it leads on to the next verse. And so you get, I think it's 12 verses in total and 6 groups, something like that. And it's quite wonderful. It's the gopis intoxicated with their love for Krishna. And I think of it as everything like topsy-turvy. Because of their love for Krishna, they're seeing Vrindavan forest as also like turned upside down, so to speak. So the rivers stop flowing, but the trees, they have honey flowing and, flowers flowing. So things that are animate have become inanimate, and others that are inanimate have become animate. And it's quite wonderful. This Yugala Gita, it's after the rasa dance. And so there's an intoxication of their love for Krishna that they're experiencing and they're seeing. Because we see also based on our consciousness. And so the birds, for example, they're sages. They're silent, just listening to the sound of birds are always moving. Go and look in the, go for a walk and you'll see the birds are always moving. But in the Yulagita, the birds have become sages, the river stops, the trees have become animate, and everything's, very wonderful.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey.
Maybe I can become a bird sage.
Yeah, well, Lord Chaitanya, he's inviting us to something very wonderful. Gopi Batur Bhara Kamalayur, Dasa Dasa Anudasa, to be servants of the gopis of Vrindavan. And so generally in our line, that's the meditation. Thank you, Jeffrey. Bhima, you have your hand raised.
Haribol Prabhu.
Jai Ho.
I unfortunately missed the first part of this class, and from this discussion right now, I am definitely going to go back on YouTube and review it. Of course, this is a very beautiful, poetic part of the Bhagavatam, very inspiring. I just wanted to say that from another perspective, someone like myself, who is just basically entrenched very much in nature around me by virtue of working on a farm, that you come to understand that we as, let's say, humans in our intellect and our mind, we take for granted the clues, the very simple clues of Krishna's presence in our life, that we ignore. That everything that around us, from every blade of grass to every beautiful bird to flight to the air to our very breath, we take all these things for granted, as if we had something to do with the creation of it. That we find ourselves forgetting this creation, and that it is one gigantic clue, like the gopis, asking the trees, the gopis looking at the footprints, that Krishna's footprints are everywhere in nature, all around us. And these clues that Krishna offers us, all of a sudden brings back that sort of like childlike wonder. And in that wonder, we get a momentary glimpse of the fact that we've been separated from Krishna, that we forgot who's given us all this, who's created all this, who created us. In that moment, it's very much a flash that, in that, if one can be still and silent enough, and maybe while chanting, while taking a walk, or, just paying attention, we understand this grace and this moment that that Krishna is showing himself to us, at least showing the fact that here he is, and you get this moment like, oh my God, I can't believe I've never really paid attention. I've never paid attention to Krishna's wonderful works, and Krishna's presence in his works, like the presence of an artist in a beautiful work of art. So I just like to say that we do have a chance to feel that separation, maybe not on the level of the gopis, which would be love, but at least in wonder, sort of awe and reverence, where we all begin, the awesomeness of the fact that we just are, and that everything around us is, and that we're on this gigantic adventure to, by virtue of the clues that we are given, to find Krishna in our lives once again. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for instilling this in our hearts. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima. I really appreciate that comment. And it reminds me of many things, but I'm going to choose to speak about one thing in particular. And that is a book by a theologian, C.S. Lewis, called Longing for Joy. And it's a story of his conversion to Christianity. And he describes his life, and he describes how when he reflected on his life, he realized that there were moments of sublime satisfaction, but when he reflected on them, he realized there were moments of longing. It was a longing for joy, and it would be provoked when you mentioned on the walk, or somewhere. He noted it would be that when he was in nature. And so he realized that there's something there about being in nature that brings him close to God, or he didn't believe in God at the time. But there was these moments when he was in nature where something would come up in his heart, looking at a distant vista or a mountain stream. And he wanted to explore, what is that? What is that longing? What is my heart wanting? Or it's getting this glimpse of something that's there, a remembrance. And so that started his spiritual search. And then he goes through different spiritual traditions. So yeah, there's something there that, and part of it is that we are pausing. You mentioned the walk in nature or chanting japa. We're pausing in life. Life is so busy, and the mind is always so busy. And there are moments when we stop and just take in what is. And it's those moments when we can kind of wake up from a dream. When Krishna sends Uddhava to meet the gopis, he's going to describe how there's different states of being: deep sleep, sleep, and then awake. And most people, well, we spend time in deep sleep, but then we spend time sleeping. We're awake, but we're sleeping in the sense that we're daydreaming. We're kind of in a zombie state, just going through life in automotion. But there are moments when we pause, maybe when chanting japa, or when we kind of just get woken up suddenly, and we connect with Krishna in a moment, and it's sublime, and it fills us with wonder. And it can prompt us further in our spiritual aspiration. But if we reflect on it, we can also decide, okay, how do I create more of those moments? Now that I know that they're there, it's possible to be awake. How can I, like, even our spiritual routines can become routine, and we can go through those in automotion as well. But how can I be more conscious when I chant, when I see Radha Murli Dhara, when I hear Bhagavatam, when I'm in nature, to actually try to connect with Krishna, pierce through the veil of the covering of material existence. This section of the Bhagavatam, Viraha Gita, I really experienced that it does kind of open something up for us. And we do get that sense of longing and connection with Krishna, and it's very profound. Yeah, some light comes through. It's very powerful.
Maybe
Thank you,
Bhima
Bhima.
will be our next C.S. Lewis. He's no less poetic than C.S. Lewis. C.S. Bhima. Krishna conscious Bhima. Yeah. No. C.S.
KC.
Yeah. K.C. Bhima. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. It's 8:01. Adipusha Prabhu, how is Darshan situation? We don't know. Suspense is building up. It's Friday 13.
You're getting close. Here comes Vasudev.
Comes the head Pujari.
Hey, Darshan time. Everybody can present if you can.
Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Murli Dhara ki jai, Shri Gaura Chandra ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Hare Purusha.
This was the class, dear devotees. Thank you very much for giving us your attention. Shri Prahlad Prabhu, thank you for wonderful class. Krishna conscious, straightforward, perfect, shastric, interesting, engaging class. Thank you. Hemangi Ishwari Sundari, nice seeing you. Bhaktabili, Bhima Prabhu in nature, Adipusha Prabhu in the back of the temple room. Everybody on this call will love you. You are an inspiration in our life. Life is spooky without you, dear devotees. That's the spookiness. Being deprived of the devotees association. Right, Shri Prahlad Prabhu? Is that the spookiest thing that can ever happen?
That's what Prahlada writes of Lord Chaitanya.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Friday, dear devotees. Come to Tompkins Square Park if you can. There's a Harinam going on in honor of the historic Harinam with Srila Prabhupada in 1960 something, 60, let me see, 66, yes. October 9, 1966. There's this famous footage with the devotees dancing and there's a church behind them. So come if you can. With this, we're going to